Thanks a lot for coming back. It's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Fabio Pliger from Continuum.io. Fabio is one of the eldest members of the Python Italian association and community, and now so far is a member of PSF, so Python Software Foundation, and also a chairman of the EuroPython Society. He's a core developer of Bokeh in Continuum, and his talk today is about this wonderful library for data visualization. So please welcome the speaker.
Thank you, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Not yet. Now? Better? Okay. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. First, it's always nice to see a lot of people in the conference. I will spend 1 minute to talk about PyCon Italy. It's very nice to see how it grew. I was I was at the PyCon 1 in 2007, and then I had my son, 1 year old, and today I have my son again with me after many years. Come here. This is how PyCon Italy grow. And today is his birthday, so happy birthday. Okay, so time, less talk, more demo, more talks. So I'm today here to present you Bokeh, which is a new, not really new, but a visualization library for Python. First, a little bit about me. Valerio already told you everything. Just to highlight, I'm one of the Bokeh devs. I work at Continuum. My tag at Twitter is bsmoke. If you like the talk, or you think it deserves some attention, or you want to give some feedback, please tweet. The tag for Bokeh is Bokeh plots. I will show at the end. Here's my GitHub, the username, and my email. Please contact me if you want. A little bit about Continuum. Continuum is a kind of very young company, but with a very strong experience and a very strong presence in the Python world. We do software, and especially we focus on PyData related software and on specific domains, mainly in finance, geophysics, defense, and all those here. We are very committed to the community and open source software. We are, in fact, behind many of those open source libraries to stab at real world problems for data scientists and analysts. Continuum is the company behind Anaconda, the Conda package, NumPy, Numba, Bokeh, Dyn, Blaze, and all the family of related softwares. Also behind the NumFocus and PyData community. We try to sponsor as many events and Python events we can. We are very interested in many scientific and Python related technologies like arrays, distributed computing, out of core, GPU, interactive visualization, and we actually do a lot of consulting and training as well. We help companies striving with data problems to go through their business, and we actually now have also some packages for enterprise or companies that wish some support with Wakari, Beanstar, Wakari Enterprise. So take a look if you are interested. Oh, sorry. So Bokeh. What is Bokeh? Bokeh is an interactive visualization library. So to summarize Bokeh in 5 things that we wanted to achieve since the beginning. Okay, and we thought that in the Python world or in general, no library could give this power. Interactive visualization. So basically, what you want? You want a library that shows your plot and you can interact with it. You can zoom, pan, you can link plots, you can link selections, you can select part of the plots. You can actually do what you want on that data. Novel graphics. Basically, most of the libraries out there do nice scanned plots, right? You can plot a bar chart or a line chart or a step chart, donuts, whatever, canned plots. What we want with Bokeh from the beginning is actually give the power to the user to say to let him describe what he wants. So you can describe like fancy plots with I don't know, not the usual way of visualizing things. You can have scatter and line combined, or you can do very weird kind of plots, basically telling your software how to draw it, right? That we'll show you later a little bit. We want data-driven visualization, meaning that you'll be able to go back and forth with your data. You can have streaming data, you can have big data, you can have data that is changing on your background, on your backhand. We want to do that, whether there's a server or not, there's a service. On overall, we want to be reactive to your data. Bokeh was born, let's say, from the Python world, but well, we are in the Internet of Things era, right? So we want things on the browser. We want our Python plot to go to the browser. And we want to do that with or without a server. And still we want to interact with it from the Python side. But not only. We want that to, well, if we have some cool stuff, why not to share with other friends, right? So we want to people using R, JavaScript, Scala, or whatever language you choose. If you want to choose C++ or C# because you use it, there's a chance for you. We didn't develop it yet, but there's a chance for you. You can do that. Well, it's common, basically. Its roots, it's really in the data science world, right? Because the people behind it have a huge background on the data science world, but we want to make it available for everybody. The reality is that today, for most people here in this room, but overall on the whole conference, the line between disciplines in the Python world or in the computer development, the software development world is very blurry, right? It's hard to say. If you go and try to look for job ads for Python data analyst or Python big data, you will see that people ask you to know about web dev, about front end, back end, scientific stuff, Django, web services. So this is not something that is useful only for domain experts. And we don't want to write JavaScript. Well, we don't want you to write JavaScript. We write actually a lot of JavaScript. Okay. Seriously, no JavaScript, if you don't want. Okay, so how this happens, okay? Bokeh is a Python library that actually, it have many layers, okay? So let's talk about the low-level layer. It have the concept of Bokeh as a Python library that serializes the objects and everything you need for your plot and your figure, and it basically delegates everything to the JavaScript side of things, to the Bokeh.js library. And it happens in the browser on an HTML page as a canvas element. Okay. First thing before people ask, we use canvas, and instead of SVG. The choice basically was because on both have pros and cons. On the performance side of things, we wanted to be able to plot dozens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of points. Okay, and for that, Canvas is more responsive and it's better performed. At the end of the talk, I will also tell you about some new scenarios that we are developing. Okay, let's develop this architecture a little bit. So on the higher level side, the Bokeh library actually started as a low level library, which again basically is only a serialization layer that serializes all the elements like the figure plot area, the glyphs. We basically call glyphs all the elements you draw on your canvas area, the ranges or like labels and everything there. A high level layer. Well, I should have put here a mid-level layer, which is basically the plotting, Bokeh.plotting, that basically gives you easy access to this low-level glyphs. And all the things there are the same. But actually, like, as Bokeh have this kind of design that you actually gives a JSON for the JS part to consume, you can actually write as many wrappers or as many versions of Bokeh as you want on any language that is able to serialize things to JSON, right? So right now we have Bokeh Scala, RBokeh, Bokeh Julia, Node.js. I don't know the status of Bokeh Lua actually. So I don't know if it's how's the status, but all those libraries here, those bindings, they actually work. Okay. On the Python level, okay, this is basically the final snapshot. You have a higher many language bindings. You have the Bokeh.js part, serialization layer, Bokeh, which has actually the low-level library, which we call glyphs, the mid-level plotting, charts, which is very experimental. Okay, this talk will show many stuff that is very experimental, not stable, not yet on master, and a compatibility layer that we have to actually import stuff from Matplotlib, Seaborn, ggplot, and Pandas to plot on your browser. So basically, the talk you saw before about Pandas, all those plots that you had on Matplotlib, you actually can take that plot, put it into Bokeh, and see that on the browser with the interactivity you have on Bokeh charts, plots. Okay, so let's start. As I said, Bokeh started with all those things in mind. Novel plots, let the power to the user to describe all those minimum details of visualization he wants. And I'm starting with the canned version of Bokeh, which is actually the new library. It's very young, it's unstable, but gives you an idea, and it helps me on the presentation. So let's take a look. How Bokeh looks, how Bokeh charts looks. Basically, you can import your kind of charts, canned charts. Like right now, we have those, maybe a few others, area line, bar, dot, donut, head, heat map, histogram, horizon plot. We have a scatter that I don't see there. Anyway, you have your data. Charts consume pandas data frame, dictionaries, Python lists, NumPy arrays, and a few others. We take a look later. So you define your data. You say what kind of charts you want. And you don't need to tell you that everywhere. You say show, and you actually have your chart here. Okay? And as I said, we want stuff to be very interactive. We provide a set of tools that you can interact with. So like the pen tool, the zoom tool. As we said, we want things to be responsive, right? So we can use that. Oh. Okay. I knew I would have done that. Okay. No problem. Because as I said, Bokeh is very flexible, right? It's very interactive. And I didn't tell you how it generates stuff. So right now, this presentation is an HTML page, actually. So I can interact with it and say line chart at Python 6. And as this is a IPython notebook under the hood. So okay. I can basically execute this cell again. Here we go. Where's my presentation? Here. Okay. Here's there again. Okay. So this is a canned plot. It's not. Another type of Bokeh charts plot, the area plot. The same level of interactivity you had there, you can see here. For area charts, we have two way of representing the area. We have the normal area charts, and you have the stacked chart area plot. So you have the areas stacked there. Bar chart. A dot plot. Histogram. A heat map, actually, that represents tabular data. Okay. And you can interact with it. And with interactivity, we want like some tooltips that user can basically customize to show the data they want. And when I say like, so Bokeh charts is still experimental. The version we have in the official release don't let you do this, but you can do this with the next one, the next release. You can do that with the plotting library, and you can do that with the glyphs. If you have that pandas data frame that basically have, I don't know, 20 columns, and you only plot one column or two, you can still access the other columns to show stuff on your tooltip. Okay, you have access to your data, not only the stuff you plot. Okay, so if it matters or not, we can still do zoom here. Resize, span, reset. You can preview, save stuff. Okay. So we'll go ahead and let's show some nice stuff. This is to show some level of interactivity. As I said, as you have access to your data, and actually your plots are not something that is a black box. You can actually have access to the low-level elements. You can link plots together. So like here, I have two plots that display, those are scatter plots. And I can select part of that plot and those are linked. So when I select here, I select there. And I'm actually not selecting stuff on the plot. I'm selecting the data source. Okay. And if I use the lasso to select stuff, I select there too. And I can still zoom. This is boring. Let's go ahead. Okay. So let's see a new. This is amazing because this is a user contribution. Like we car devs didn't do this horizon plot. It was a contribution for a user, and we would love to see more of that. So basically, what's happening here? We reload. As Christian told before, with pandas you can load your data directly from the web from a CSV. So here we create an ordered dict from data from the web using pandas there to read CSV. So we create 3 series for stock options. We create an ordered dict. We pass everything to the horizon chart, and we create a horizon chart here. Okay, let's go ahead. So right now, as I said, charts are experimental. We have those chart types: area, bar, box plot, dot, donut, heat map, histogram, horizon line, scatter, step, and time series. We had in mind some other charts, of course, but we are waiting for the API to be mature enough to actually let us bring something better to the user. So we really hope for the new release to improve that. And the nice things about the new design of charts is that they actually use the low-level glyphs that I told you before that you can interact, and you can access those. For me, it's really amazing because when we started developing that, we cannot imagine how users would use it. And it was a surprise, like last week at PyCon US, Sarah Bird, who's a user of Bokeh, she's very active with us actually on the mailing list, on the GitHub account. And when she showed her plot, her work, we were, wow, you can use charts to actually preview your chart, and then you can inject stuff or change style with really a few lines of code. So it was pretty amazing, and we would love to see more of that. Supported inputs. Right now we support pandas, numpy arrays, lists, dicts, or directed tuples, and there's a typo there. Okay, I hope you don't mind. Okay. And a pandas group by for scatter chart. And from the next release, I really wish we already have something working. We support Blaze expressions, which is a really nice thing. If you don't know Blaze, you should go and take a look. Okay, so right now, for now, we saw a little bit of the interactivity of the visualization library, and that you don't need to write JavaScript, right? I put in yellow because I wouldn't be convinced yet if I was there. So let's show some more stuff. Let's show some of the roots of Bokeh, right? The plotting and the glyph interfaces, the low-level stuff. So to recap, as with interactive visualization, we want to be able to drag and zoom with linking stuff. We want to select stuff and route trip to the server or other data sources where we want the tab tool, we want to resize on client side. Okay, we want a flexible, nice hover and new tools. We actually have a very nice gallery. I can say our docs looks very nice now. You can actually interact with the plots there, so I think it's very nice. Okay, so of course the low-level library, it's a little bit, you need to do a little bit more work, but not that much. Basically, you have the notion of figure, and on the figure you add glyphs and you add elements to that figure plot, like like scatter, circles, or lines, and you can pass ranges, you can pass data sources, and it lets you create very dynamic and new things, right? So let's show some level of interactivity here. You can actually, using the shift, select too many stuff here, and as they are linked data sources, you can actually show the selection on other glyphs. And this just happens to be the same glyph. If it was a triangle or crosses or rectangles, it's the same. Let me show you here. Here's the source. It's very simple, right? It's just a container that you can add stuff. It can add your data. And this is very simple data, like some sin, cosine, and this kind of stuff. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, so this one, we share ranges. When we share ranges, Bokeh is smart enough to say, okay, I need to link panning. I need to link zooming. And of course, you can do both, right? You can share ranges and you can share sources. So you can have this kind of very high interactivity with your plot. Okay, this is another one, scatter plot. Here you have some selection tools, the tab tool, zoom in, zoom out. And you, of course, with the same way, holding shift, you can actually select many stuff. Okay. Who think it's nice? Okay. I will convince the others. Hope so. Okay. Okay, this is a very known kind of plot. This code basically is a lot of data preparation, right? So all this part here, from here to above, is preparation. This part is actually doing the plot that you can see here. Okay, this one is one of the examples of interactivity and what we mean with novel plots. This one is a tabular data that compares the occurrences on the Les Mis novel. Okay, so you can actually have, of course, the colors are increase. The colors increase with the number of times the people interact with each other, and you can actually interact with the plot in the same way. And it's very reactive, right? So if you need resize, you can do that. Novel graphics. I already showed you some example. Here again, a very long data preparation, some code to actually draw a very nice plot. Okay, this is a very famous for medicine literature that shows the effects of antibiotics with many kind of infections, and it's very cool. It shows ranges in that basically are inverted on a circular way of displaying data, and you can actually see and interact with data, right? So you can zoom, you can move stuff. Okay. And here, well, it's useful. I don't think so, but is it cool? It's cool, right? Okay. Another example of, like, we don't want you just to draw lines or draw circles and stuff like this. We want you really, really do your data. So this one shows you how to draw patches on the figure that actually that actually corresponds to your data from locations on a map with a kind of tool that you can interact. And you can still here zoom, do the same kind of interactivity you had before. Okay, getting boring. Another novel graphics that actually shows you multi-line to give this effect of lines here. Another novel graphics example that shows you segments that these ones they actually change the color and the alpha of the elements while you actually change your data source. Because why? Because we are passing also colors as an interval that is linked to the data itself. Okay. This is a plot. Is this nice? It's nice, yeah. So we don't want users to just draw stuff for statistics. We want users to really express their data. This is everything is drawn with Bokeh, and you actually it's not a traditional chart or plot. It's a tabular visualization of the elements. I mean, as I said before, as you have the column data source underneath, you can show whatever you want on the tooltips. Okay, and we have a compatibility layer, right? So like this. Okay, this is a matplotlib plot that you are actually seeing on the notebook on the web, and you can interact with it. Okay, with the same way. The compatibility layer is experimental also because it relies on the MPL exporter. So some cases we have some issues open for that. We hope in the future to have much improved compatibility. Okay, so can I put green there? Are you happy with? Okay, thank you. But I promise I will show better stuff later. Okay, now let's say we show you that we are very data driven, right? But it's not true yet. Everything you saw there is in the browser. It's a source that is stored in the browser. We want you not only to store the JavaScript limits. Like we don't want you just store tens of thousands of points or we want you to actually display hundreds. So, and streaming data, right? So I'm going to. So in Bokeh we have this component which is Bokeh server. What is Bokeh server? It's a service, basically a REST service application that can consume your data and your plot and all your elements and talk with the JavaScript side and do stuff on the fly for you. For instance, this example shows you 4.5 gigabytes store data on the web that I'm going to show you. You can access the link if you want, maybe later after the presentation. But actually, it's showing all this data with hundreds of thousands of points. It's 4.4 gigabytes. And have you seen how it displays the data? If you select here, it shows the elements you have. And on the server side, we have downsampling, right? So what's happening there? The JavaScript side says, okay, I have a selection on this area, sends everything to the Bokeh server. Bokeh server recomputes everything to the downsampling on your data and sends back all the data, the refresh data to you. Okay. I'm running short on time, so I'm not going to show. You have the same kind of interactivity with other elements of the application, right? So you can actually change stuff here, change stuff there. This is our X and Y slices of your data. Huge data. Okay. Now I have another example. The time series downsampling. Okay, this one is not, you can see the effect of the downsampling. Okay, this is a huge data as well. And if I zoom, for instance, here, no, zoom is here, you can see how the server is working to downsample your data. Our network is kind of low now, but basically that's the concept, right? Okay. Okay, so what have we learned about Bokeh? It's a visualization library that lets you express the way you want to show your stuff to the users. It's interactive. It targets the web, okay, and it targets large amount of data, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 gives you a powerful and novel charts library that is able to visualize tons of data without writing JavaScript, right? Which is cool. Nothing against JavaScript. We actually write a lot of JavaScript. But if you are a Python developer, you use everything on the Python side. You run your code on, you use Python to develop your database or your Django or Flask or whatever application. You use Python with your pandas data frame, all your data analysis tools and everything there. The fact that you need to go to the JavaScript side to do your visualization is kind of not a showstopper, but it's annoying sometimes. Okay, architecture. To simplify a lot, we can say that we have mainly two pieces, like a standalone JavaScript library that you can actually just write everything on the JavaScript side. So you can just use Bokeh.js and display everything there. And you have the language-specific library language binding to Bokeh that actually serializes stuff to JSON to the JavaScript library. Okay, so but that is very simplistic. How was the architecture before Bokeh? Basically, you had your application, your models, and everything. You have your sort of server or web service or whatever. You wrote some kind of JavaScript stuff, or you rely on some static plot library on the Python side. And if you want to display everything on the HTML side, you have to interact with D3, high charts, and all other libraries, right? And that's there. Your Python side is over. Bokeh, you actually can have the same way of interactivity with your data, but you also can add some kind of MVC layer that lets you interact with the browser. So what happens in the browser can stay on the JavaScript side, or it can goes back to the Python side and can interact with that. Okay, I had a lot of things to do, and actually I didn't say half of the things that I could have said. It's becoming a fairly large library. So cool things, recent features, abstract rendering. We add many interactive tools. We have the matplotlib compatibility, new language bindings. The Scala and R ones are very new. We have the interactivity. So I didn't show you, but maybe I will show later. You can plug widgets. We provide many widgets that you can call on the Python side, like selectors, text boxes, and many others that you can then interact with the data on the JavaScript side and send back to the Python side. Pluggable server apps, the new charts interface that I showed you. We have simple server apps, the Ajax data source, which is very cool. Improved dynamic. The documentation has improved a lot, and we need your help and the help from users to actually improve it. Exciting things that we are working on. Lots of documentation, improving even better. We write a lot of. We basically test all our examples on every new release on Windows, Mac, and Linux platforms, on Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox. For the next release, we are adding new JS actions, which will basically let you define new actions on the Python side and have interactivity with your plot and your widgets on the JavaScript side without Bokeh server. We are probably going to release a new 09 soon in next month or maybe the month after. We aim for a 01 at the end of the year. Things that a lot of people ask. Okay. WebGL, because we want to do fancy stuff. I've seen a line draw with WebGL this week. So we are working on this. We are working hard on the WebGL side. And we really want to provide support for that. And we want to improve also the styles of the plots and everything. And that's none of us are actually designers or people that actually have strong design skills. So if you are on that field and you want to contribute to open source free library like Bokeh, you are more than welcome to help us. And we need your feedback, okay? If you want to know more about it, those are the repos. Social side of things are small. We have a YouTube channel that we like to show, a Vine channel to show small stuff that we release. There's a Bokeh mailing list. If you have issues, ask there. Open issues on the GitHub. We are more than to help you go through. Of course, if you want to contribute, you are more than welcome. We now have we have a tag on Twitter on GitHub that I forgot which one is. That is for beginners, so you actually can see what. I forgot to put there. So you actually start with easy tasks if you want to contribute. Okay. We have 3 minutes, but we can stand for 2 minutes for demos, and I really think you will like that.
5 minutes more.
Okay. So, okay, this is a plot, right? This one is an interactive plot shown by Sarah Bird, a Bokeh user on PyCon this week, and the full application actually that I don't have her server on locally. On her application, this one here is a slider. Okay, so you can grab this and move that and move the year, and you will see the data, the facets of data changing, right? But this is still a Bokeh chart, and you can interact with it, and as you change stuff, you can see there. Okay. This for us is really amazing to see how people use our code on real world applications. Okay. Next one. The same thing. Oh, I forgot one very important thing, right? So Bokeh renders your plot on the HTML page. You can render as a HTML static file that you can still interact. You can render, as you've seen, my presentation was a IPython notebook or Jupyter notebook, and you can interact with it. And last, you can create apps that interacts with your web application or with Bokeh server, right? The same application you saw there. you can see here on an IPython notebook. Okay, this is not available. Why? Because this is a surprise. So now I want to show you a Bokeh application. Okay, let's start Bokeh server. A spectrogram application that uses Bokeh server to actually it's not displaying very nice, but so this one is live. It grabs the sounds from my microphone, so okay, and it displays data. I'm sorry that it's not displaying very well. You can also have this kind of fancy widgets, and it grabs the highs and lows of the volume and shows live data like. Okay, is this cool? Okay, so I want to show you, I don't have much time. I want to show something kind of very cool, actually, which is, let's say you have your source, your service that changes your data on JSON side, okay? And I have it here. Well, okay. Okay, so let's say you have your service, kind of this. This is a Flask app that basically returns just a JSON string with data, and you want your Bokeh plot to show that stuff without Bokeh server, right? We now have an AJAX data source that you can basically say, okay, listen to that port on that address and take this data with this format. And what happens, and now I need it, basically the lines of Bokeh are those where you say, define a new AJAX data source to listen on this port with this polling interval, and it basically will create a nice plotting file AJAX. Okay, wrong window. And it changes. Without Bokeh server, just because my function here is returning new values, okay? And it's happening on the JavaScript side. And I can show you. The only thing that happens on the Python side is on your service. Bokeh on the Python side already stopped its work. Okay. I wish I had more time for stuff, but I don't. So I will show you another nice thing. Okay. Bokeh actually have other kind of nice charts. We have an image RGB or image. So this example actually show how to use Bokeh with Numba. Who here knows Numba or have? Okay, not many. Use a Numba kernel to actually accelerate the interactivity of the notebook to create some nice effects on Bokeh image. So like here, on the fly, I have created an image, okay, and displaying with Bokeh. The image is this one, and I can use IPython notebook widget to interact with Python, and Bokeh have some nice interactivity in Bokeh plot. Okay, this is the kind of novel plot that we want. We want people to really do crazy stuff. Okay. We want like to the image, this one, kernel, we want to emboss. Okay, this kind of image manipulation in Bokeh and Namba, for us, it's pretty nice. Okay, it's pretty cool, and we want that, and not only as Bokeh team, but on overall the Continuum team, when we provide open source tools, we want people to really have power over their data on the visualization side of things, or on the computing side of things, on everything that is missing on the Python for data world. And I think we are short on time, right? Yeah, pretty much the last thing which I cannot go without it. Okay. Okay. This one deserves. Okay. So I want to show you some code. We have this example actually of Bokeh apps. Okay, embedding your app on Bokeh. And we have a recent addition of the cross-filter tool, which is basically cross-filter object that you can pass your pandas data frame, your data. Okay, this is your pandas data frame. Pass to your cross-filter and returns it as a web app. And what the cross-filter do for you? Well, does cross-filtering, right? So, you a nice way of showing your data, and it basically looks at your data frame and say, okay, you have these fields, and we actually can look at the types of the fields and say, this is a continuous type of field, or is a vector, and you can actually drag here and say, okay, I want to filter my data by this, and I can filter by this. Okay, and I want to face it let's aggregate for mean value and change the data for weight and face it by vector. Okay, on the axis. And we can face it like on creating tabs. So we have a lot of facing. Okay. Think about that over thousands and hundreds of thousands of points. Okay. This is give you a really new kind of insight over your data that you can actually inspect and visualize. And I think I really got over time. Sorry for that. Over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabio. Very nice talk. I might ask you a question that I'm quite sure that many people here are wondering if you're willing to share some of the code presented here.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Actually, all the code that I show here is available as examples on our code base. On our code base, we have, I don't know, I think more than 100, because we spend like 2 people on the day before release testing everything on many platforms, actually. We wish we have better support for automating testing, and we are doing that, but basically all of the code there is on the repo. Only the charts ones are, a handful of those are not available yet, but they are going to be on the next release. And the Sarah Bird example that I showed here, it's available on her repo, so you can grab it. And everything, of course, is open source. We invite you to use everything and give feedback. We have the break right now.
Yeah, we have time just for a very quick question, if you like.
I have just a small question. That do you have any way to introduce some comments on the GUI? Because we are in scientific field. We often have the chance to share the results that we make with our collaborators or something. Especially my boss. I mean, he's happy and may get sleep at least if he makes some corrections every time I make some graph. So if you have some facility to include some notes in the graph. So once it is
okay, yeah. So you have you can do that. If you can use the tooltip, right? And you can actually write text on the chart. I have a quick example here. Lives sprint like this, right? Is this what you're asking? Write text like this.
include his, the person at the other end can include his comments. It can be saved like a note so that
okay, on parts of the glyphs.
Because in GUI you have some facilities like zooming in, zooming out, and if you have a option to put the notes, so I can see the notes or corrections the other person makes.
Okay, we don't have it as a widget or as an action, but it's a cool. Actually, that's a good place where you can go to the GitHub and say I would like to have this, and we will consider adding to the repo, but you can actually do that yourself. Okay, not that you add. You can contribute and add it, or you can basically as the tab tool. You can use the tab tools to select and write your own Bokeh apps and say we also provide text widgets. So you can say add a text widget with a button. And when you select stuff, you can actually go and add the text to your source. So you can do that. We don't have it as a nice widget that you can just take and use. But that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
You may probably find the time on Sunday if you're here during the sprint sessions. So maybe a good way to contribute.
Okay.
So enjoy the coffee break.